First of all, thank you all for joining us here this morning in this press conference. It's a very important time for us to be able to communicate back to the community about the nature of an investigation we've undergone going back in earlier mid-February. Just recap, back in February, we had two innocent people who were gunned down in a very brutal, violent drive-by shooting over in Pompano Beach. Two individuals lost their lives and their family members are here today, and I just want to make sure I recognize all the members from the family, first of which one of the victims that we lost was Devon Johnson. The second was Delani James. These were two individuals who just happened to be congregating outside of the convenience store during the time in which the violence occurred, and they lost their life. And their family members here today. The mother of Devon Johnson's here, Miss Lisa Sneed, and I want to say a special thank you to all of the family members from the victims who decided to come here and participate in this press conference. It's a challenging time for them. They've been waiting patiently for weeks. There's a lot of uncertainty at times as to whether or not the sheriff's office or our investigators are going to be able to apprehend an individual and bring them to justice. And they've been patient. I've been on the phone with the family members repeatedly. They've gone out to church events with us, community town halls, and they've never wavered in their trust and commitment to saying, we're going to give the agency a chance to find justice for us. And so today, this is part of that justice. Our investigators were able to absorb a great deal of information, both through cameras, video footage, witness statements, and many other investigative tools that we use to be able to bring somebody to justice today. And with that, we're executing an arrest warrant of a Mr. Damian Charmont, an individual who most certainly was involved in this shooting. He's going to be facing 2 counts of first-degree murder and additional counts for the other victims who were shot. Let me remind this community about how egregious this incident was. We had roughly a dozen or so, or half a dozen people congregating out in the community with no expectation that they would be brutally attacked, and these individuals drove by, several of them, and opened fire on this crowd, firing over 60 rounds at these individuals, using assault rifles and handguns, mercilessly, with a total disregard for human life. They're a menace to society. You see this support network from the mayor behind me, Mayor Hardin. We have Commissioner Moss with us and many others. You have pastors and civic leaders through across this entire county showing up here today because we recognize that we can't live in a community like this. This cannot be the end result for every single time an act of violence happens. We're standing here in a press conference talking about how we've arrested somebody. The issue is much deeper than that. And it requires a whole community effort to bring a solution to these type of senseless crimes that continue to happen. And they continue to happen in black and brown communities throughout this county. And we can't ignore that. So yes, today we have an element of justice. We're still in pursuit of other individuals, but what I've challenged the entire Pompano community with, and why so many are here today, is to make sure we get actively engaged in finding justice for all of our victims in the community. We currently still have about 9 cases that we're working right now. 6 victims failed to cooperate with us. The code of silence that exists in this community must stop. You can't allow to be fearful of criminals and allow them to victimize you every day because of your silence. You can't allow them to take over these streets. You reside there, you live there longer than all of us in terms of these deputies that work in your community. You are the greatest vested individual or individuals than anyone else. So don't be silent. Help us. Help us help you. Help us bring justice in this community. Help us remove the problems in the community. Everyone deserves to be able to walk down the street with their kid or go to a supermarket and not expect to be shot or gunned down. That's reasonable. But somehow we've become accustomed to the abnormal. The abnormal is now the norm. And the moment that we get in that position in society, we're failing. So my call to action to the community, to those members who reside in Pompano, in the area that may know something about this case, contact us. We don't need to hear your name. Give us the information. You can go on our tip lines. You can contact our investigators, and we will bring justice for you, but we're not going to be able to do it without you. Another key thing I want to talk about is something that occurred here. Maybe it's a roadmap for us in terms of how we're going to go about fixing problems in our communities. Again, these issues that exist in Pompano are not exclusive to Pompano. I'm the Chief Law Enforcement Officer for all Broward County, And it's astonishing that the same problems exist in other parts in this county, but yet we haven't come up with solutions. And one thing that jumped out over this tragedy was to create a coalition of pastors, police, and partnership with everybody that reside in here, our PPP. It was a PPP plan that bailed us out during COVID, and now this is part of a planning process that needs to bail us out in this community. We have to stop the violence, and it's going to continue to take that type of collective effort. I just want to take one more second to pause and recognize the great work that's occurred within our homicide unit out of headquarters. Gino Parama has taken the lead on this case and has worked tirelessly, folks, I'm telling you. He's been in my office repeatedly giving me briefings, updates, talking about what he's doing, warrant service. This takes a lot of manpower and a lot of hours, and he and his team has not wavered once. And so I appreciate their efforts. The family members appreciate their efforts, and I hope that today brings not only just attention that we've been able to apprehend one, but it helps us to get the others. So with that, I'll pause, maybe take a few questions if you have it for myself. Any specific details that you may seek to find out about the investigation, I may turn over to Gino, but keep in mind this is an active investigation, and we don't want to do anything that compromises our ability to bring everyone into custody. At this point in time, we can't speak to the motive. But what I can speak to is about experience dealing with these cases and having worked some homicides in my own career. And most of these cases are driven through some form of senseless violence that's taken place over drug deals or heated argument, and then individuals like the ones we are pursuing take it upon themselves to disregard human life for people who have nothing to do with that conflict and fire 60+ rounds into our community. I'll say it again, they're a menace to society. We need to get them off the street. And in order to do that, we need a community with us. At this point in time, there's several. I won't disclose a number, but rest assured, we are aware of who they are, and we're coming for them. Well, I think what we've seen in the country in general, anytime that there's conflict, whether it be an excessive force case involving law enforcement, a brutal murder like the one we're talking about here in Pompano, there's always an effort to have the local leadership, our civic group, our pastors, who are in great connection with every part of the community, to get involved and support us. But that's almost after the fact. It's the violence occurred, the police brutality happened, whatever the conflict is. Our goal here by establishing this partnership is to keep this partnership intact and not wait for bad things to happen. Because it's not just a matter of, okay, how do we solve crime, but how do we solve the social issues that exist that allows for certain crimes to occur? And these are some of the things and discussions we've had in town hall meetings about, okay, we understand that the sheriff and his personnel are actively involved in an investigation. They're pursuing the suspects. That's what we expect. That's what we demand. That's what they deserve. But there's more other elements that exist to how do we mitigate crime. And part of it's lifting up the quality of life in these communities that we're talking about, especially in Collier City. And some of the things that have been taking place, not just over the span of several months, but what's taking place over the span of a decade. Yeah, look, it's very frustrating, okay? No one wakes up in the morning and has this expectation that they're going to get shot while they're going to a grocery store. No one's waking up in the morning and expecting that if they're walking down the street with their kid, gunfire erupts and it takes the life of their child. But these are the type of circumstances that we've absorbed not only in just this part of Broward County, but in multiple parts of Broward County. For me, I have to read and examine all of these different cases. So when I'm seeing a repeated pattern where if I took the name off of Pompano Beach and took the name off of Fort Lauderdale and took two different cases and put them side by side, and it's the exact same thing, it's very frustrating. And it's telling that the issue is not police oriented or exclusive, and that this is just a police matter, it's a community issue. These are, yes, they're separate cases, but again, whether it's a gift or a curse, I read everything that comes through this agency. And I recognize that we had about 9 different cases involving some shootings, some aggravated assaults, some stalking, violent crimes, and 6 out of the 9 cases, we had non-participating victims. In other words, saying we're not going to say anything, we don't want to involve ourselves. And look, I get the twofold pronged process behind that. There's one, the code of silence that just exists in certain communities where the culture is no matter what happens, we don't work with the police. But then the second side of it is this, okay, there's going to be street justice that take place because of that. That's the other side that we're not talking about. That code of silence equates to more violence, criminal amongst criminals, suspect amongst suspects, and they don't care the when and where or the who gets hurt. That's the problem that I have with this level of code of silence, because individuals are being killed who have nothing to do with these, the conflict that may exist between these individuals. Part of what we're doing now having this partnership, having other people who can be ambassadors and advocates for us, for the law enforcement officers, to say it's not just their problem. Guys, look, the sheriff is going to load the community up. I'm going to saturate it with our SWAT team. I'm going to saturate it with homicide investigators. But then what? We solve the case, and it becomes cyclical. We wait to the next shooting, the next victims to be gunned down, and then we want to do this. This needs to be sustained 365 days out of the year, meaning community partnership, members who have clout, so to speak, in the community, who are validators, our pastors, our other civic leaders, our elected officials, our commissioners, our mayors. We got to do this together. We're not going to have any success. So again, I'm hoping that this becomes a template and you see more of this like collective, everyone's involved showing up and not just me standing here by myself.
Good morning, and thank you all to all the sheriff department and Sheriff Tony. My thing is, if you see something, say something, because even if it wouldn't have been my child, I would have told, but I wouldn't have told anybody. The people have to learn, if you're gonna tell it, just tell it and shut up. You don't have to tell nobody what you're gonna do, because like I said, it had to be my son. It could have been somebody else's child. And if I would have witnessed that, trust me, I would have called. But if you hear something, say something. And this is really hard, and I appreciate all the love and all the support. But like he said, I'm not going anywhere. Even if after my son's case is solved, it's just too much and it's senseless, and we should be able to come out and get along with one another. Where is the love? I mean, it's just so sad that it's all of us. African American, we're killing one another. And it's so sad because my son was a loving father. He has 4 kids. He would give you the shirt off of his back. And even to Miss Delana James, they didn't deserve this. This is really, really hard for me, but I thank God for my upbringing, and I know where my help and my trust come from. That's how I'm able to stand here and talk to everybody. If you see something, you know something, just say something. You don't have to tell anybody. Just call and shut your mouth. You don't have to repeat, say what you're gonna do, but this has to stop. And I need justice for Davon, and I need justice for Delana James. Thank you.
My name is Ryan Johnson. I am the father of Davon Johnson. And his death, his life has brought awareness to myself as well as the community in Pompano Beach. To Sheriff Tony, our mayor, commissioner, fellow clergymen that is here, we're part of who make up this coalition, and I lead it because that was my son, our son. And we're gonna stand not just for this particular crime, but any crime following in our city. We're calling for everyone to come together. Yes, say something. Don't allow madness in our streets, in our communities. If it's not good for our community, we don't want it there. This is what my son's life has done for me. Brought up awareness that we see it throughout the nation, but it has hit our home. It's in our home. It has brought our family closer, allowing us to speak more, and again, it's allowing us to also stand together for something that matters, something that God is watching. So this is what this coalition is about, how God can bring all of us together. We love our police, our officers, those who protect us. We expect them to protect us. But they cannot protect us if we keep silent about the crimes that may be family members. We have to be true and honest about this. Most of the time we know what's going on, we know who's controlling it. This is where it stops. And I thank God that it's happening now. And yes, I'm able to have this platform and share this with law enforcement, our city commissioner, our mayors, fellow pastors in the community, and other organizations. We would not quit. Davon is not living among us today, but he does have a legacy.
Yes.
From the life that was instilled in him by his parents, us, his family members, his grandmother, his grandfather. And that's what we're here representing. We are God-fearing people, and we do not want it in our land anymore.
We're hurting as a family. It seemed like it was a dream, but now it has become a nightmare. For this to even exist, we've watched the news for years and time after time. And then when it finally hit us, we woke up to see, man, this has been going on a long time. But we're really here that we want to be able to help the law enforcement. We've been out every Wednesday, hitting the streets, passing out these flyers that if anybody knows anything, we've been quoting the number, the Crime Stoppers number. And we just need people now to be able to speak up now. Again, we're hurting now. But if pastors, we thank God for Commissioner Moss. He was out there on a Wednesday pounding the streets with us. We've been singing songs of Zion and praying with people in the community. But we as the church, we have to do more now. We've got to help them to help us. Those of you that live in Collier City, you know, if you see something, call the police immediately. They don't have to know your name, but call the police to make the streets more safer. That the police don't have to worry about somebody trying to gang up on them and you see it. Let's make it safe for everybody now. Again, it's not happening in certain communities. But if you love your community, you got to be honest now. Are you willing, because it's Pookie or Ray Ray, your first cousin, or even your own child? We would be here if Davon was the opposite. If he was the crimer, we would have been having him locked up, because that's not what we teach. That's not the way we were taught. We were taught in honesty, to be concerned about the community. So we're serious about this, and we're asking that all pastors, let's just not march. We've had a couple of marches, but let's not let this stop. We've got to continue to plead the blood in the name of Jesus over our nation, over our communities. We got it on our monies, in God we trust, but do we really believe that? So as a Christian family, it's in God we trust that justice for Davon and Miss Delana James, but also that unborn child in whom she was carrying. So it's 3 victims. So we want to be concerned about that, and we're very concerned. So those that are watching by television, if you hear something, say something. We're honest and we're real about this. And even in the midst of tear-stained eyes, we have shirts that we've also selling that we're saying we're fighting back. We're fighting back to get our community back. 25, 30 years ago, this was not happening. We had drug problems then. Now we got a murder problem. And it's coming from young people from the age of 13 to 16. It was not heard of when I grew up. We got the devil beat out of us to even think about cap guns. All right, so now kids are playing with real guns. They're not trained, they're not licensed to carry a gun. So parents, if you walk up on your kid with a gun, please turn that gun in. You know, and I believe in prayerfully that we can be able to get a program again, because I know they had it before. But if these guys can start bringing these guns to the churches and just turning them in without anything being done to them, that we can get these guns off the streets. And we thank you all, but most of all, we thank God for our law enforcement. We thank God for Captain Stallings. He has been sending officers out there to help us pound the streets, to get those persons to understand we are serious about bringing justice for my nephew, Davon, for Miss Delana James, and her unborn child.
Thank you, Sheriff. Appreciate it. And thank you, clergy, family members, for being here. It's indeed a great day for law enforcement. Thank you for all you have done to bring the perpetrators to justice. It's a step in the right direction, but as has been illustrated today by yourself, Sheriff, and the family and everyone, this is not just today. This is an ongoing struggle, not just in Pompano Beach, but throughout our county, our state, our nation. We need to take our streets back, and that takes sustained effort, not just a one-time press conference, but this takes sustained effort. And I'm committed to it. City of Pompano Beach, we are committed to this work, and we are going to make a difference. So thank you, Sheriff. I appreciate what you've done, seriously.
This is indeed the first step in a long march, but we're here together. We're going to work together. We're going to continue on with this. It's a wonderful day for us. It's a wonderful day for Collier City neighborhood. Hopefully, people are going to start cooperating with the city administration, with the police department, and we're going to see Collier City enjoy wonderful, sleepful nights, not worrying about who's out there with a gun in their hand. So, Sheriff, congratulations on a very well-done job. I thank you all very much for what you've done, and for Collier City and for Pompano Beach. Thank you.
Thank you all for joining us again, and once again, for everybody who's participated here and making this happen, we're going to keep it going. Thank you very much.